Okay. So I hope I have everybody. The morning session is a very interesting session, and it really concerns everybody, not just for natural history field. But I was very happy that I hear a lot of questions really concerned about natural history field of how we strike the balance between going virtual and encourage people to face the real environment. And in the afternoon, I think this is another. I would say, popular a topic that will become more and more popular or more and more, I would say, with more attention, and that would be the traditional ecological knowledge. Of course, this term, whether we are calling this traditional ecological knowledge, it's debatable. We can discuss about that, and I actually really like to hear from you. But this session, we're talking about this traditional ecological knowledge in museums, challenges and ethics in exhibiting living knowledge systems. So for the topic, we have a systems, meaning that there are multiple knowledge systems. And this topic also implies that we have to work with communities very different from museums, probably very different from academics. And I'm sure it will be a great chance and opportunity for us to really discuss. Today we have two presenters, but before their presentation, I'd like to also share with you our previous discussions this year on this topic. So I am also part of the working group on decolonization. So this year in July, we have exactly a session on traditional ecological knowledge where we invite the ICON members who are interested in this topic to Taiwan and to have this international conference with indigenous populations in Taiwan, where we do have a lot of them. And the topic is exactly on how the museum can represent the dynamics of traditional ecological knowledge. And we invited school principal, who is the first one in Taiwan to initiate indigenous experimental education. And it takes a lot of efforts, legally and practically. And they have paved way for this legal, framework for years. But before the law passed for experimental education, they had to also prepare the school teachers for this part. So they remodeled the curriculum. And by remodeling, they have to discuss what is the core value of their curriculum. They also have to work with the elders in the community, because we all know, I'm sure, that the elders are the ones who hold the treasure of these knowledge, but they are dying. So it is a way for me, with a biology background, to a kind of conservation work that is almost. And another thing is that most of the time when museums are displaying or introducing these different knowledge systems, we usually will have another bigger frame or topic like SDGs, right? Or other sustainability topics. And we're just trying to find the piece, the parts of that system that will fit into our exhibition. And so it's very difficult for the museum to explain and introduce the whole of this knowledge system. And we tend to extract the things that we think make sense to us. But for some of the knowledge system, the nature, science, and cultural part is not, you're unable to divide. And so it's really important that you hear from them. Another thing is that because we tend to have this thinking that, oh, this traditional knowledge is something from the past, but because we are not living with the community, so we forget and we neglect that this situation, how they use this knowledge or how they understand knowledge actually changes with the change of society. And this kind of change, there is no one model fits all. It's different for different communities. And this kind of diversity and complexity is very difficult to capture. And hopefully today we can talk a little bit about this. And so about the symposium we had in Taiwan, if you're interested, we had this is a QR code. We actually recorded the session online, and you're welcome to find the video recordings after this our session today. And this in this ICON conference, I also had this chance to present in our joint meeting in Newmark. I talked about millet, and exactly it is for example, millet comes with different cultivars, but this is a picture from one of the museums that was trying to display biodiversity. And what they thought is that, oh, this is the name of a certain ethnic population, indigenous population. And so they put different years of millet in different plastic tubes. And they thought, so this, if you look at this display, you will think, oh, the millet diversity exists among different ethnic groups. But if you actually go to the field, the millet diversity exists in one field with a dozen or more than a dozen cultivars, each with different functions, different meanings, of course, different morphology. And this is exactly how you kind of misinterpret biodiversity. And also, it takes a lot for the people to preserve these things. Okay, but each population or each, for example, in our case, indigenous communities, they have a different pathway to preserve this. Some of them, because of the change of society, like colonization, authoritarian regime, they were forced to leave the environment where they used to live with this kind of knowledge. And then nowadays, they have to find it back. And so for those populations, they have to find, they have to find different paths. And some of the populations, they stay in where their ancestors are, but because of the change of the society, they were not able to sustain this culture. They probably have to spare a major part of their life to accommodate modern life. For example, going out to the city for a certain job, and they have sent their children to the schools. In the past, their children can just be in this community and observe and learn how these knowledge works. But now, because they send children to the city for a better education, and it's very difficult to pass down these knowledge. And so some of the communities, they find some way for their younger generations to learn from the elder generations. And so for these children, for example, this is one of the indigenous young person from that village who finds some path to learning system where the young children can still observe the traditional practices in the community. And she said, oh, millet, that has been part of my life, but she also saw the struggles of the elders from different generations. Elders from different generations faces different struggles and challenges to sustain their culture, their knowledge. And for her, when she goes to the museum, this is not even mentioned. So the dynamic development of how they sustain a culture is partly presented in museums. And I think this is exactly what we should be thinking about, and maybe we can discuss for today's session. So allow me to go and change the slides. Okay. Save. Okay. For the waiting. So today we will have two speakers, and the first speaker is Mark Beach. Mark has been very engaging with Natsu's events. I remember seeing you in Prague meeting, and also he is the active head in geoscience of the Natural History Museum in Abu Dhabi. And hopefully through your presentation, we'll also get to know more about your museum.
Thank you very much. I'm British, but you might guess from my accent, I've been working in Abu Dhabi actually 31 years now, so a long time. I've adopted a twist on the topic today. So while the topic is traditional ecological knowledge in museums, I'm talking about traditional knowledge in the desert, actually. And I'm talking about an area that's about 4 hours drive west of here. So we're in the UAE in western region of Abu Dhabi. And I'm going to tell you about how the local people have helped us to find fossils. I'm an archaeologist, a paleontologist, and I'm very much involved with nature as well. I wanted to tell you a bit about our museum, and sadly we were not open in time for you to visit from ICON, but please do come back. We open next Saturday. We have a 13.8 billion year journey, so from the beginning of the universe we have a incredible collection of meteorites from all over the world. This is our building, which symbolizes nature, really. It's the basalt building block of geology with a kind of botanical garden, Arabian plants outside it. It also looks very much like cell-like structure when you see it from above. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the museum of some of the galleries. We tell the story of the Earth, the evolving world. We have Arabia, climate, ancient UAE, explosion of life, beyond the horizon, about how we learn about our planet from space and the future of the Earth. As you come in the museum, we have 5 real sauropod dinosaurs, real ones. This is the only natural history museum in the world, I think, that has 5 actually in there, and we're literally just building these at the moment. We have various galleries which have immersive. We have for young explorers, we have the Paleo Lab where you can talk to paleontologists who are pre-cleaning, preparing fossils. You can touch a dinosaur bone, touch different fossils. We have a life sciences lab which explains about DNA and colour. We have an immersive theatre which repeats the journey of the museum from 13.8 billion years to the present day. We have a young dino play area for young children. So we have something for everyone, really. But our museum begins with the story of the creation of the universe, the Big Bang, our planet. We have the evolving world, and literally I'm returning to work this afternoon to go back there to continue installing some of our specimens. I wanted to give you an insight into this particular gallery, and this is where the local environmental ecological knowledge comes in, because for the last 25 years I've been working in Abu Dhabi's desert region, the western region, and this is what Abu Dhabi looked like 7 million years ago. We'll come back to that in a minute. As you can see, we have a lot of dioramas. I was very happy with the talk this morning talking about dioramas, but also having interactive screens, some immersive, some VR, AR. We also have the totally amazing immersive theatre, which repeats the visitor journey. So we have a visitor journey through our museum, and we talk about the future of the planet, how we learn from nature. We discuss the climate spiral, global warming. We mention different issues, but how we need to be better environmental custodians of our planet. In the biodiversity gallery, we have a real blue whale skeleton suspended from the ceiling. That was the first thing we installed about 2.5 years ago, because we had to put the blue whale in before we closed the door of the museum. And we have a central library of nature, and then we have biomes for African savanna, Arabia mountains, Arabia desert, Arabian marine, deep Atlantic Ocean, African savanna, Arctic, we have Tasmania. So we have different parts of the world covered in that. Now I want to take on a journey now from here. So imagine we've just got in the car outside here. We've driven 4 hours to the west. Abu Dhabi is just about here. So this is this western region. All these locations are fossil sites, which all have incredible fossils from 7 million years ago. And this is how many fossils we find. And we have some particular rich sites here called Shway Hat. Those of you from UAE know that the nuclear power station is just here, Jebel Baraka. So that's done with Korean company who help to make nuclear power. We have 4 nuclear reactors there. It provides about 25% of electricity grid for UAE now. Anyway, just I mentioned about traditional knowledge. We have desert rangers who are real Bedouin who work for an environment agency who patrol this area. This is what the area looks like today, and this is an earlier publication I worked on showing what Abu Dhabi, and actually here, looked like 7 million years ago. As you can see, rather reminiscent of East Africa. It's like being on safari in Kenya, Tanzania. You have giant rivers with different types of elephants, hyenas, giant ostrich. You have hippopotamus, crocodiles in the river. So the local people actually drive around in this area checking that there's no illegal hunting going on. And so they often help us by reporting, because the people of the desert, they know the desert, better than anyone. So they call me sometimes and say, Dr. Mark, Tal, Shuf, Shuf, Feel, Atham, Kabir, Walla Feel. That's what they tell me. We found a big bone, it's a bone of an elephant, come and see. So this is us hunting for fossils in this area. And we have some incredible fossils. So our Natural History Museum is a global natural history museum, but with a strong Arabian focus. And these are some of these amazing early elephants from 7 million years ago. It's actually a 4-tusked elephant, and you'll see the name is Stegotetrabelodon amiratus, discovered here for the first time. And this is actually the wisdom tooth, the third molar of this elephant, and this is a giant 2.5 meter long tusk we found. These elephants are great. This is one of our current social media postings advertising about the museum, and we have reconstructions dioramas in the museum, but all our dioramas have the actual fossil evidence just next to them. It's really nice design. Now, besides these fossil sites, we have these amazing elephant trackway sites, and this is one of the local people who told me, I know the one place in the desert where there's giant camels walked, because in the mind of the Bedouin, of course, only camels are in the desert. And he took me there, and I said, wow, but these are not camel footprints, these are elephants and footprints. This is one of the first sites we found that's published quite a few years ago. We now have 6 sites like this with this amazing preservation. We're looking at a 7 million year old ground, sort of like concrete. And I mentioned the local people. This is one of these Bedouin ranges, and this is actually a piece of a fossil wood. So it's Hashab Kadim Summer. So some of us went for the bee tasting, and we were tasting summer honey. This is acacia honey. So this is 7 million year old acacia tree. So it's hard to imagine when you see the deserts today that there were forests there and these rivers with all these incredible animals. And this is a crocodile skull. This is a mustelid, jawbone like badger. This is a hippo, and we have these giant antelopes. So just to tell you a little bit about the design, our project is an incredible fast-track project. We started less than 5 years ago. We had nothing. We didn't have a building. We had to design the building, build the building. It's 35,000 square meters. And someone mentioned the museum was 3,000 square meters. It's 35,000. So we initially did the layout of design, and I've worked on reconstruction paintings, that painting I showed you before, imagining how Abu Dhabi looked 7 million years ago. So we started putting it into practice. These are some of the renders of the museum. We actually have a glass floor that represents the river in special lighting effects, and we have models of the crocodiles and fish in the river, and we have life-size models of the different elephants, and then all these are the showcase going in front of them. So it reconstructs. It's like being literally in Abu Dhabi 7 million years ago. And just to show you the quality of some of the models, this is the Dinotherium here, which is one of the 4 proboscideans. This is the Hipparion horse, which is the 3-toed horse, the ancestor of modern horses. And literally, we're installing fossils at the moment. These are some of the publications. As you can see on these publications, I've been involved really been imagining this reconstruction for more than 20 years now, because these are some of the books from a previous small exhibition we had 20 years ago. But we've published these two books, so if you're interested in more information, just contact me. I can give you my email and I can share these details. So our museum is based on all this science, and it's like a dream for me, because 31 years ago, I came to Abu Dhabi, started working in the desert, started finding fossils, dreamt one day of having a natural history museum, and dreams do come true in the UAE. So this is the, if you come to visit our museum, we're open Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 6:30, weekends till 8:30. So please do come back to visit us. We'd love for you to visit. Opening 22 November, and happy to answer any questions later about this. But it just shows the importance of, like I said, that a lot of our discoveries are made with local people. We have a high percentage of our staff are Emirati. We're involved in training, and one of the issues in the Gulf region is training nationals in museology and museum skills. So we hope that now that ICOM's been here, some of you are enticed to come back as museum professionals to help train and work and collaborate with us in our local museums here, because it's important. But at the same time, it's very important to collaborate with local people, local knowledge, local environmental knowledge, where the environment is totally changed. Even the traditional Bedouin in this area know this, and they keep finding new places. And we go there and we collaborate with them to excavate some of these sites to collect these specimens, because this is the heritage. And now we have a proper home for natural history in the region. We also cover some interesting topics such as human evolution and other things. So it's going to be quite a big thing when we open next Saturday. As I said, it's the first museum of this type in the region. Anyway, thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, that's for you, welcoming you. Okay. And so, I have the second one. Here's the second one.
And the second speaker, Malek, Basili, and she is the scientific content developer of the Naturalist Biodiversity Center in the Netherlands. So we probably will have a chance to visit in 2028. Okay, so that's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, the name is Naturalis in Leiden, and it's near Rotterdam, so it's easy to find. I've been working on exhibitions as a scientific content developer for more than 30 years. I've been involved in creating exhibitions from the extinction of the dodo, my first exhibition, to the forest of Suriname, which opened last month. And today I'd like to share how our exhibition, The Forest of Suriname, invites us to rethink the relationship between museums, nature, and knowledge. And in a broader sense, what can decolonizing mean for the museum of the future? This presentation explores a shift from collecting nature to listening to nature. It follows the path from colonial science to traditional ecological knowledge, and from a museum to the living forest, guided by a very important question. What if nature were not a resource, but a relationship? Naturalis, like many other natural history museums, has a deeply colonial background. Its collections were built during centuries of exploration and extraction. Collecting was a form of conquest, a quiet continuation of exploration. Through classification and preservation, nature was formed into knowledge. In many history museums, exhibitions were organized around this connection. Animals preserved in jars, specimens displayed in showcases, nature framed and categorized. The museum has been a stage where the world was ordered and displayed. This transformation from living being to stored specimen shaped how we still relate to the natural world today. After a complete renewal, Naturalis reopened in 2019. The new museum brings together research, collections, and public experience, but above all wants to touch the heart of its visitors. And also to reconnect them with nature, not as something behind glass, but as a world we belong to. In the exhibition Evolution, for example, visitors are invited to touch a 3.7 billion old stone. That is about as old as life itself. The stone has a layered structure that holds traces of oxygen produced by microscopic life in ancient seas. And when you touch the stone, light and sound installation comes to life, and that is really a magical moment. Text reminds you that you are connected to the origin of life and it's related to all living things around you. And then
Ganz
sometimes
gut.
connection happens in ways we
Vorträge
don't
kann man
plan
sich
for.
anhören,
During the early stages of developing the
wie
forest
es von der Natur, vom Sammeln
a
zum
group
zum Weiter.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I've been muted all the time. Can you hear me? I'm so sorry. So you didn't hear anything.
Now I'm hearing. Sorry.
Hello.
Yes, yes. Now I can hear. Thank you.
Okay. So
you.
the sound here. So you were not able to hear the speakers.
Yes, I can. I can hear now.
Oh, you can hear them. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Now I can hear.
Okay.
It's okay. Thank you.
Can their sound be, wait, allow me to broadcast their sound
Okay.
to the audio sound. Which one? HDMI?
No, audio.
Which one? This
Headphone.
built-in? No. Or this
No,
one?
HDMI no.
This one?
No.
Really? Okay. Can you speak? Can you speak again? Let's try if your sound can be projected.
Yeah, yes, I can hear.
No, it's not.
Yeah, thank you.
Or this one? Oh, you can hear? But
Yes.
It's not very clear, but if you can hear that would be wonderful.
I am,
Otherwise, go HDMI.
okay. Wait. How do I put it? Okay.
And so far this so hi Mishkat, is that how we call you, Mishkat?
Yes, yes, I can hear now.
Okay. So I'm wondering if our online participants, do you have any questions so far? We have from Germany, our old friends. Yes, and Leono Ruza from Zambia, and also Mishra Mullah from Pakistan. And I'm
Yes.
so sorry because it would be more complicated for me to show you everybody's face. So I'm just gonna stop here. So for the two speakers' presentation, I wonder if we have any questions from our audience and also from on-site online.
Thank you very much both for your presentation and insights into a recently opened exhibition and its being opened exhibition. Thank you very much. I'm Hannah Stecker from the Natural Museum in Berlin. Yeah. And I have some questions regarding because it's about traditional knowledge when you see maybe also Petra can answer to it when it comes to collaboration with indigenous and local communities. I'm always interested, what is their motivation? Why would they like to collaborate? I know the interest of the museums because we raise the regulations and so on, but what is the interest of the communities? And how did you shape the collaboration? So, for example, how were the local people here honorated, or what was their benefit in showing you the fossils here in the desert? And also for Mareike, after opening the ceremony, because you talked about the collaboration during curating the exhibition, which their engagement after the opening of the exhibition? Is there an ongoing engagement with the visitors, workshops, or something like that? Will the exhibition travel to Suriname?
Well, my question you already answered for a part of it, because there is a program will be during the whole time the exhibition starts. And we are trying to give parts of the exhibition to Suriname. We try to find a location. But what's most important is the main message of the exhibition to keep the rainforest because the rainforest is under great threat. And that was their special motivation. It's their home. It's their home. And so what we did is interview those people and put in quotes everywhere in the exhibition. So and also in this book wrote down this is a reflection of the whole participation of all the communities and local communities. I don't know if everyone knows who are the Maroons. Maroons are because Suriname was a Dutch colony for a long time, and Maroons were the descendants of the enslaved persons that fled into the jungle, and there they met with the indigenous people, and they have the same urge to protect their incomes. Yes. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, I mean, we try to work, of course, with the local people out in the desert, and I've been working, as I said, 31 years driving around in the desert. So we hang out in the ranger stations, drink a lot of tea, eat a lot of chicken biryani with them in the desert camps and things. And we reward them in different ways. Of course, it's important to credit them in other scientific publications. We saw this picture we published, or we always give them credit. We also actually recently we went out to one of the elephant trackway sites, and we give them a certificate, and actually some financial reward was decided from our authority. So there is a financial thing. You have to be careful with that kind of thing, because of course we don't want to encourage people going around literally digging for things, but it was a one-off reward, because often some of the local people far out in the region of the desert, they're not formally educated in reading and writing. The older ones, the younger ones, of course, are fluent in English, but the older gentleman, the particular guy who showed the photograph of his, he's around mid-50s, 60-ish, something like this. So he wasn't ever formally educated, but we, as I said, give them some incentives. Also invite them to the part of the museum. It's building literally citizen science, and just acknowledging contributions of the local people is important. The important thing for us is more education. So one of those books I showed in one of the slides, it was called 1001 Fossils. So instead of 1001 Arabian Nights, we played on the fact that we had thousands of fossils, and we published it in Arabic and English. And it's very important because in the Arabia Gulf region, we have a lot of important scientific things that are not translated into Arabic, and we felt it was very important. So we did a kind of coffee table book version written in easier. It was a collaboration actually with the Peabody Museum of Natural History at Yale University and with our Abu Dhabi Authority. We also published recently the Springer book, that's the more scientific monograph thing, with help from colleagues from Berlin Museum and from Faisal Bibi and from some of your other curators in Berlin. So we have a connection with your museum as well. But I think the important thing with local people, acknowledge them, involve them in participation. Since we did that book, it's changing. And it's actually wasn't in the school syllabus before about Miocene fossils, because it's a bit like when I learned history in England originally in the early 1970s. It began with the Roman conquest, and we didn't have anything on prehistory. It was like civilization came to the UK, the Romans came, and then you have Vikings, and then you have medieval life, and we think now of course prehistory and everything. It's the same in UAE now in the school syllabus. You know, they have everything from mitochondrial DNA and the emergence of Homo sapiens out of Africa to Miocene fossils and when the UAE was under the sea. This wasn't taught before. It's only in the last 20 years that we have these educational books, and it's why natural history museums and also some of the galleries and museums in Dubai are very important, because this is telling the proper story of Arabia, the environmental change and cultural history, and it wasn't telling properly before this now.
I am, as a professional, you're reminding me to.
Oh, okay. I probably would like to also, reply to Anita's, question. I have very different experience, with, when I was, working with indigenous, partners. Now I like to call them partners because I realize it's really important to really treat them or consider them as partners with shared goals. I think it's very important that we have to find a shared goal with the community. Why do I say that? Because most of the academic institutions, the way they work with the indigenous, you can imagine, oh, we make appointment with them, or we invite them to the museum for, reviewing meeting, working meeting. We moderate them, with their traffic fee, with probably, their lecture fee. But like in Taiwan, a lot of indigenous people, it is so difficult for them to travel to Taipei. They're living in the mountains. It takes them more than an hour from the mountain to the train station in their county, and then take another 2 to 3 hours to Taipei. And you have to know, all the people we invite, they're legit, like working to sustain their culture. And they work multiple jobs. And so now for our museum projects, we're taking up their time, very precious time. And so how are you going to repay them for just a remuneration of a meeting? And so I think the most effective way is that the things we do in the museum can facilitate what they're doing. I think it is very important. And in Taiwan's case, many indigenous, people in the community, famous, known for their culture, they're very humble people. And they are very open because they know they have this dire issue of seeing culture, so they welcome any kinds of invitation. But as I said, their time is precious. And as I heard from many cases, for example, recently, I, help, indigenous, community who are also famous for their agriculture, to interpret because of French, I'm so sorry, do we have French? Okay. Anyway, it's represent all French people, but, French TV, television, they came to, film their like, traditional culinary practices, and they did no homework at all. They just roughly know, oh, this, culinary studio, interview is from an indigenous island. They're famous for, innovating traditional food as a new form. That's what they know. But what they didn't know is that this kind of, culinary studio, they are from the, particular community that has been relocated by the government from the mountains to the plains. So what they're doing is actually trying to have connections with the community that still are living in more traditional, environment in traditional territory they connect to. And so one of the very strange question asked by the photographer or the, director is, oh, I'm going to film, and if you introducing your culture, but, as I see your community, there is no element that looks like Taiwan element. Can you show us where I can see a very indigenous
Which sind noch nicht bei der Tagung.
indigenous elements in your home and in your community? Or maybe we can go to the other village and we say,
Das ist jetzt ein Artist in Dubai, ja. Jetzt soll es eigentlich um Diskussion gehen. Jetzt reden die Leute ewig lang.
This name
Dann
is,
kurze
your
erzählen sie und erzählen sie.
system is coined by the colonizers. And for them, it's different. It's not their culture, it's their culture, although we're with Taiwan, but the village and this village are just very different. And so basically wasting their time. And, they had this interview with this TV station before, and the, French TV, station, with the team, they have, of course, credited the people who got interviewed, but they didn't get the results of the production. Like in a production, if you treat these, community as your partners, you will consult them, in the process to make sure that it comes out the way they like, they accept. And when you're like publishing, the event, you should treat them as part of your production team, it's not just like, okay, I've done it, thank you, and I have written you, and it's things like that. They can't even trace, the video that they shoot 3 years ago, something like that. Okay, I'm so sorry, I'm taking up the time, but, okay, please.
Hi, my name is Hilda and I'm from Uganda. I am in the private sector, public tourism, public health. And at the start of this year, I started working with one of the minority groups that we have in Uganda. We have about 66 pairs. But these are the towns that I'm sponsoring in my country. And from Kampala, you have to drive 7 hours to where they are. And from there, you have to park the car, walk 16 kilometers away. This is a community that was evicted from the forest in 1990, and they made it a national park. It's Elgon Conservation Area. So these people were displaced to the community, to a nearby community, and up to now they don't have ownership of the land, and they don't have schools, they don't have hospitals. There is one school for small kids and a secondary school, and there is no hospital. They have to walk 16 kilometers down. Most of the women die in the way to give birth and all that. And the 90% depend on traditional medicine. So at some point we go there to work with them. They do beekeeping. They depend on weaving. Then bamboo, but bamboo harvesting that is harvested in June, July, and August. But sometimes you go there to work with them and you feel like you're exploiting them. When we move down, I feel like we are really exploiting them, like we get information from them. Yes, we give them money, we contribute, but still, where they were settled, they have cut down all the trees. There is one tree, one tree that is specifically in that area. We have one tree that is for cut. So we are trying to do a restoration project, but I don't know how to do this because even one, yes, the land is there, but how do I go about it and how do I work with them without feeling like I'm exploiting them? And last week, Thursday, we had an landslide, and by the time we came to the 30 people were reported in. So how do we work with them and how do we spread this conservation effort? Then we have to do it. Thank you.
First, remark on the question. Yes, Nicholas Columbus from mentioned it in the future. Yeah, we really very the fact that you use ethnographic point of view to add to the museum this holistic dimension. It's only within the museum. And at the same time, it's also very interesting considering that from a historical science point of view, you can say about on regular, let's say, regular science, that there is a strong shift during the second half of the 20th century, where you can see that kind more and more it will be lead a kind of shift of paradigm, a strong shift of paradigm by having a more systemic view on Earth. So in a sense, it's quite similar. So do you also introduce this? That's very interesting. For some century, the goal of science was mainly a very activist point of view, just to find the absolute goal and the smallest letter. And it's changed a lot in the second part of the 20th century. So do you also share also this knowledge, or do you only have the ethnographic point of view for at the end it's the same, it's quite similar, you know.
Because That's a great point. I would like to respond to both of you as well. First of all, your question. Yes, I described that you apparently can shift, but at the same time, so it's not about only geological. It is also about our colonial awareness that we share this colonial background, this colonial heritage. So it is not their heritage, it's also mine and all of us. So that is one thing. And at the same time, what Naturalis also wanted for the last years is to touch the heart of its visitors. And we don't, like I said, we don't escape from, we don't, scientific knowledge is important, but we say this knowledge is as important as scientific. What is scientific? Because I think every knowledge is scientific knowledge. It's based on what we learn, what we see, what we reflect on. And, yeah, maybe not everyone in Naturalis agrees with me. I'm not a biologist, I have to say. Well, but I was really surprised that when I gave them the concept, that they said, okay, you can do it. Because it's about spirits of nature, it's about goals of the forest. In Naturalis, a taxonomic institute. So I think there's a change, and I can feel it also everywhere that this change is happening. And I also relate to your what you said about the communities that live in they have to work for 60 kilometers, etc. And they don't have any sayings about their own lands. It's in Suriname is the same. I mean, the Dutch colonial government destroyed many of the Suriname villages because they wanted to make energy. So there's a whole economy, water. So all the villages have been flooded to make this energy for bauxite. So I think it is time that we see ourselves as part of this colonial background. And I agree completely that it's not, oh, you say what you want and we put it into, and that's it. No, as partners in dialogue and staying in dialogue, I think that's the most important. And this morning we talked about digitalization or digitation. I don't know both, etc. And I think that is also very important because we also have some sheets of herbariums that only states in indigenous collector. We didn't even know who are those indigenous collectors. So now a lot of research has been done, and now we know, oh, okay, this was Johannes Karakovi, who lived there and then in Suriname. So now we have his name, and now we can contact his family. Your ancestors' plants are in museum, and in work museum, they have his grandfather's headdress. Well, things like that. So I think we have to communicate more as museums, and also digitalization is really important because then you have to, if you have like sounds or quotes or from indigenous people, from the communities where it's from, put into your systems. And not only like this is a network of indigenous products. No, this is like what's it? No, who's his family? Yeah.
Thanks. I also want to push this one to another very good. It's a really big and seemingly very intractable problems. So I can totally see how you're struggling to deal with this. I wonder whether there's a connection, perhaps partly with. There's a lot to do with relationships initially, I think. Because there's going to be trust problems, power imbalance problems. These people were evicted from their homes, you can say 30 years ago. That memory is still going to be there, of course, you know, and they will be very untrustful, I guess. They will feel like they've got no power over their own destiny and their own future. And those things need addressing. And I guess, you know, some of the things that Pedro said, and in combination with some of the long-term relationships that Marcus established with the local communities, that needs to come at the beginning before you can even start to think about forest regeneration and something like that. But so I think it starts with relationship building, recognizing them as stewards of the land, also, and then I guess getting some help in terms of you know, ecological regeneration. And regeneration, obviously, we at ICON UK, we have our annual conference this year was about sustainability and regeneration very specifically. So we're talking a lot more about not just doing less harm, but also making a positive contribution to the environment, the increasing biodiversity rather than just saving energy. But it's also important that obviously we want to point at the planet where, as you know, seemingly what you wanted to address is if they originally lived in the forest and they've got no forest left, their entire life has changed, their livelihood has changed, and so they've lost everything. They've lost their home, they've lost their traditions, they've lost the forest that sustained them, and there's a lot of work to be done. I'm always very optimistic. I think you're going to need some help, of course, but and it'll be a journey over so many years. But I'm sure that can be done. We're here as a community to assist, so I'm happy to activate some. I've got some thoughts about some potential contacts as well, so we can have a chat with you.
Yeah, one of the issues we face in this region is just loss of this local ecological environmental knowledge of traditional plants. You know, in Uganda, they have a very rich tradition of medicinal plants, herbal treatments and things. And this tradition is here as well in the UAE, but it's being lost slowly because people used to live more in the desert and everything is more urbanized today. And one of the jobs in our natural history museum is to provide some of this information and some of the herbal remedies and plants and different things like this, because it's the older people we have to talk to. And in the local context here, the reason we hang out with some of the older people in the majlis, it's the sort of Arabian sitting room where you sit and drink tea and coffee and talk and communicate together. And this is the very important work because it's documenting this knowledge before it disappears. Like many countries, modern urbanization leads to the loss of this ecological environmental knowledge. And it's why in the museum we try to involve many local people and our staff and to capture the local knowledge, but we need these citizen science type projects of reporting. And now Emirati is one of the most the highest percentage of mobile phone usage, I think just about in all the Gulf states are like this. So, we show them, of course, things like GBirth and the Cornell Merlin ID birds and life identification of plants and things, but this is very important because they are very mobile tech savvy and to get them involved. So that I think you need these kind of partnerships for them to be involved and deep back into the museum, the database, of the institution, going back to what was raised this morning about having global data and having some parts of the world and they're not so well represented.
I was thinking about how to represent your communities in the museums, and maybe you have examples
And if you use oral history in this kind of exhibitions where people can really hear the voices speaking, or actually because of interviews. Well, we have a lot of messages in the Suriname exhibition, so it's not easy to hear all the oral history. And also, indigenous communities are not only one voice, so we need a lot of voices. So what we did was we showed them in text, and sometimes the text appears and disappears, and then you see another text. And so it's like walking through a forest, you don't see everything at the same time. But there's also a room, we call it mirror of nature, where you can reflect on nature and on your own relationship to nature. And there you hear also voices of indigenous people, and also groups that celebrate the forest. And we also have some paintings there where you can see an indigenous woman, Frau Justitia, blindfolded, of course, and she represents nature, so it's about the law of nature. And hearing their voices at the same time is a really strong message. And it's also the message for all of us that we have to take care of our forest, which is the world. And, so, yes and no, we do have our.
One of the things you can do as well, and we're trying to do this in our museum, is our digital app. It's a tablet that you can pick up at the desk or you can put on your phone. We created using avatars and AI and various things. So you can choose your type of museum guide to take one story through the museum. So you can choose male, female, Arabic speaking, English speaking, whatever language is later. But you also customize the type of museum experience. It's very important for storytelling, and especially in the Arabia region, the tradition of oral history and telling stories and how factoring history and recording things is very much like that thing. That it's kind of fun now after you choose your avatar and then you choose, I want scientific or I want humorous or I want mixed science and some jokes and choose your age, choose your sectors, the personalized application also goes through the museum, and then of course we make sure to include local voices because it has to be Khaliji, Emirati, Arabic, different schools, from Arabic, Egyptian Arabic, Saudi Arabic languages to be focused. So while we're a global museum, we television sort of Arabian language give that local voice, the voice to the museum. Like I said, we can do that through the applications that you have in the museum as well. Makes people feel more familiar when they have a familiar second voice.
Thank you. My name is Amor Mugume. I work with the National Museum of Uganda as a natural scientist. I just wanted to add on what Mark was saying about the indigenous knowledge. I'm working on a project on traditional medicine in transition, and it came around the COVID time when we had a lot of issues with our medical world, that even the medical officers were sending us to traditional medicine for survival. So that's when I got that concept and I started looking at how I can bring it up. But in that process, what I found out is that most of us, mostly 30 years, 35 years and below, are not interested in knowing about traditional medicine. And what is also affecting it is that those who know, the elderly, they are not minding about conservation of the plants they are harvesting. And most of them are harvesting the wild. So I did this project, got some friends and we've been working on it. We tried to document Uganda is, she said, is a very vast country. We have around 145 districts, but we managed samples in 5 districts to make sure we can pick out a representation of the elder and the people's knowledge on this traditional medicine, and also to see a way we can use the museum as an agent for conservation, and also using the museum as an agent for the message of conservation of this tradition, first of all, and also the education about it. So we moved around, we found a lot of information, we found a lot of differences, a lot of different plants they use, and we are packaging it into an exhibition, which we are launching in February next year. But in December this year, we are launching. We wanted to do a quick message outside there because it was the phone we were playing a lot. So in December, we are launching a mobile museum, schools around the whole country for 6 months to make sure that we can start from the young ones from us. So, but our big message is about conservation of these plants, the lands, and also to focus on the minority groups around the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And yes, so we have to bring that. Well, because we actually have this, I think the theory, I'm not sure if it's we will extend the coffee break. So originally the coffee break stopped at 3:30. And since our AGM, I'm sure we can wrap it up within an hour. So we will start our AGM at 4:00 sharp. And so please come back 5 minutes before, okay? Like, come back at 3:55, 3:55. And so we have a plenty of time, and there are, pleasant desserts and coffee, and you're welcome to, exchange. And I think it will be more likely to have more people to communicate, discuss this together. Thank you very much for the session, and thank you for the online participants.
Thank you very much. Sorry for the sorry for muting. I'm so sorry. I will ask the speakers to if they can share their slides. I'm so sorry for the
Yes, I will.
inconvenience.
Yes, I will be interested in the forest
Yeah.
presentation because I can't hear that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So sorry. Okay. I'll ask. Thank you. So sorry. I will
Thank
get back
you.
to that. And our AGM will start from 4 p.m.
Okay.
Dubai time. So
Okay.
please come back. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, use the AGM link, not this one. Okay. See you later.
Okay. Bye.